I want to share some of my self-care practices for when their behavior doesn't change. And when I say there, I'm referring to people that we are in relationship with, that we are requesting them to change their behavior. This year has been the elimination for a lot of relationships for me that not necessarily say that they don't serve a purpose, but that they have come to a point to where the needs that I have cannot be met by the people. And it has resulted in me finally understanding that people not being able to meet my needs is not a negative reflection of myself. I think I used to feel bad about having needs and having qualms with people and having expectations, because more than not, when I would bring up these things to people, they immediately reject them. They don't take accountability for it, they dismiss it. And when you are learning how to trust yourself, which is something that I am actively doing, when you're learning how to trust yourself, you can quickly be swindled by another person's rejection of what you're telling them when you do not trust your own emotions. You become prey to manipulation. And I've stayed in a few relationships, and I'm not just speaking about romantic relationships, I'm talking about romantic, platonic, and familial relationships where that style of manipulation was used on me, and I allowed it because my self-trust was so low. And as I build my self-trust, I am understanding that all my feelings are valid. And what I feel can be a result of a misunderstanding, a misinterpretation, or even something in myself that I need to course correct. And I know that that's possible. But what I've also seen is that that's not always the case. And being open to being wrong about my, emotions is a place that I'm in, and it's a reflection of my maturity. And I'm often going into situations hoping that I'm wrong because I don't want to have to do what I need to do, which is cut them off. So I've learned that when you are asking somebody to change their behavior, when you are presenting situations to them that, hurt your feelings, that make you feel some kind of way, that bring no improvement, that, are not improving the relationship, and you bring these things to people, and when they dismiss what you're saying, when they, get irate or get upset or start talking in circles or do something, which I think all of it is just weaponized incompetence. Because while change behavior requires a lot of work, I understand. Change behavior requires you to do some shadow work. It requires you to go within yourself and you to figure out why you do the things that you do. And that may look like you having to confront some people in your own life. But that's the work. And if we ever want to be in healthy relationships with people, we have to be doing that, because in turn, we are being in a healthier relationship with ourselves, because everything is a reflection of us, our experiences, I should say. So we should be always willing and open to change and always willing to hear people out. And my whole thing is, if somebody is asking you to change behavior that you just, in your heart, you don't feel like you need to change, you don't feel or care to be bothered to change, leave. Leave. Do not participate. Do not stick around. Go. Leave so that that person can then find who they need to give them what they need. Whatever experience that they're trying to have, whatever level of respect that they need, make space for that by removing yourself from the situation. I feel like it's weaponized incompetence because the things that we require of people, I feel like it's never nothing that's super crazy. But it more so challenges their limited capacity. Because I feel like people get into relationships, whether they want to or not, friendships, romantic or familial, you exist in these relationships where you feel as though that you don't need to give more than what the title of the relationship calls for. And I also feel that people have misconstrued ideas of what it means to be a mother, a father, a sister, a friend, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a fiance, an aunt, a nephew. I don't care what the title is. While the relationship dynamic varies based upon the title, nonetheless, the concept of relationship is partner. Like, we are partnered together through some sort of thing, whether it's because we share the same blood, you produce me, we exist in the same environment together. Whatever the thing is that's uniting us as people, it's literally a part of our mechanism as human beings to be in relationship with another, to be in community, to exist amongst other people and together with each other. Therefore, we should always be willing to change our behavior, because the person might change, the face might change, but the requirement never does. So for me, having these tough conversations with people and these tough realizations with people about their inability to change their behavior, despite how many times I bring it up, I express how it pains me, I express what I'm feeling, and they continue to gaslight me over and over and over again. Because my self-trust was very minimal in the past, I would often walk away from those conversations questioning my own desires and wants, questioning my own standpoint. Like, am I tripping? Did I go too far? Am I asking for too much? And I have the habit of preferring to not say anything to keep the peace, and over actually saying what I have to say, because I know it's going to disrupt people. And for my own wellness this year, I have very much so been on the latter. I've just been saying what needs to be said, irregardless of how the person is going to take it. So some self-care practices that I do when the behavior in the person doesn't change are the following. Number one, leave. leave. If you are bringing up behavior to a person and they dismiss it, or they say that they're going to work on it and they don't work on it, if you have to tell somebody more than twice, you have to understand that they're not going to change. They want you to change. They want you to get used to what they're doing. They want you to adapt to it. And I feel like we ignore that. We don't realize that because unfortunately, these people don't have the heart to really say what it is that they're doing or that they want. But instead, just like you have the expectations for them to change, they have the expectation of you to accept. You see how that's happening? You want them to change their behavior, they want you to accept their behavior. And as a person who's on the receiving end, you have to understand that. You have to be able to identify that quickly. You have 30 minutes to identify it. And when you do, it's going to hurt really badly, because I feel like it's more a questioning of like character. Like, wow, but you cannot take that personal. Don't take it personal, because it has nothing to do with you and everything to do with them. You are just a part of the trigger for something that has happened to them before, something that is missing, that has been missing from their lives, and you and your desire and your need to have them change their behavior is basically I don't want to say a double-edged sword, but it kind of is a mirroring type of thing. More so you needing something from them and them needing something from you. You need them to change their behavior, and they need somebody to come to them and tell them that their behavior needs to change. But when they're not ready to do so because of the tremendous amount of work that it takes to change behavior, but I think the biggest resistance to changing behavior is the fact of acceptance. People have to accept who they are, and they don't want to do that. They want to continue to move through life unaware about their emotional side, their emotional self. They want to be unaware of that. They don't want to swim in those waters because it's complicated. So you have to remove yourself from the situation, because you have to understand that there's no way that you can say it. There's nothing that you can do that's going to inspire them to change their behavior if they don't want to. If they are content with what it is that they're doing and how they're doing, they are not going to change for you. And I feel like that goes into my second practice, is that the person that I am the most important to is myself. I am not that important to people as important as I am to myself. My importance is me. It's rooted in me. Nobody is going to see me as more important than I see myself. And that's a very harsh and sad reality. But this is radical self-care. Radical self-care is true acceptance of yourself and doing the hard, uncomfortable things to make sure that you are not participating in things that hurt you. And I feel like understanding that nobody is going to see you as important as you do does not mean that people in your life are not going to view you as important. It doesn't mean that you're not going to find people that think the world of you, or you're not going to find people that sing your praise and like absolutely love you down. It doesn't mean none of those things. It just means that you have to move through this world, this life, knowing that yes, people love me. Yes, people think I'm important, but I have to think of my importance at a higher level than these people do. So when people are not changing their behavior for you, don't take it personal. And don't think that you're not, well, accept that you're not important to them. Accept that you're not that important for them to change their behavior, and be okay with that, because you viewing yourself as important is ways more than this person viewing you as important. And even when these people are supposed to view us as such, they're not. And that's going to take time. That's going to take years. It might take therapy. It might take a lot of things to get to a point where you're comfortable with that mindset. But it's a practice that I just do, because I know that my next step is to immediately feel bad about myself. So to prevent me from falling into the gutter of having expectations of people and them not meeting it, and then them, flipping it back on me, I have to raise myself up by telling myself that I am important, and that things that matter to me are important. And if they don't matter to the next person, that's fine, because they matter to me. And at the end of the day, what it is that I need, I will get. My emotional needs will always be met by the right people. And I care enough about my emotional needs to make sure that I am not in relationship with people that do not have the capacity to tend to them. Another thing that I do is, once I realize what's happening, I leave. So that looks like breaking up, that looks like unfriending. It really is, all in all, however it looks, breaking up, unfriending, whatever. It's a recategorizing the person in my life. And it might look like, again, like literally tossing them out the door. Like, you're done. Like, you're out of here. Your time is up. It's over. Sayonara. For other more complex relationships based upon the dynamic, it might not look like a tossing out. For some people, it might look like that, because anybody can be removed from your life. Don't feel like you owe people your presence. It doesn't matter if you came from them or not. It doesn't matter if y'all are blood related or not. You do not owe anybody your presence. So if it's in your best interest to cut your family completely off, do what you have to do. But if you feel that you don't want to go to that extreme, but you still need to make sure that you are protecting yourself and your mental and emotional wellness, you just need to recategorize these people. So you need to strip away the expectations of them based upon title, and start assigning expectations to them based upon what they have shown you that they are capable of doing. And it's up to you to decide if it's worth doing or not. But that's what I do. I'll say, okay, we're in a relationship because of X, Y, and Z. And as an adult, I've come to realize that all relationships can't go into the waste bin just yet. Some of them immediately go into the waste bin, and others, it's like, okay, again, that recategorization, I'm going to put you in a different pile. So I remove my expectations of them, and I literally assign to them the expectations that they have shown me that they are willing to meet. And that bullet list oftentimes is just 2 bullet points. And it's like, okay, you can only meet these 2 bullet points, and that's fine. So these 2 bullet points might be at the very bottom of the things that I need. So that means that my interaction with you is far and few, because you're only willing to give these 2 things. I might rarely need these 2 things. So, and it's still kind of like a separating still. And I feel like that dependency on them will eventually shift once you accept what they are only willing to give. You have to accept what they only are willing to give for your best interest. So I do that. What I do immediately, though, which is very important for me after the conversation, is I immediately validate my feelings. I make sure that I validate my feelings, whether it's I verbally, validate my feelings, or I write them down. I like my care for myself, that immediate post care of that type of conversation, discussion, argument, whatever you want to call it, is immediately validating my feelings. Why? Because the person on the other end is not going to validate them. And I've learned to turn that switch off of wanting and waiting for their validation to come from them, and immediately making sure I'm validating myself. And in every recount of the conversation or the situation, I'm validating myself. And more importantly, I'm keeping the emotions that have come up at the forefront of emotions that are very important for me to tend to. Another thing that I like to do is I like to immediately surrender to what it is that I'm feeling. I don't doom scroll. I don't go into self-sabotage mode. I used to. I would do lots of stuff. Like somebody might piss me off and it's like I'm about to go buy me some alcohol and drink a bottle, or I'm about to, I don't know, doom scroll, or I'm about to go out in public and give everybody the evil eye because I'm so angry. All that is forms of self-sabotage. And it's like, why am I now inflicting pain upon myself because of somebody's inability to change behavior for me? I'm not going to do that to myself, because me confronting this person is me caring for myself. So I have to keep up that care. So now what I'm about to do now is that I'm not going to self-sabotage. I'm going to surrender to my need for compassion and care. I feel like after any heated argument or debate that you have with somebody, you need to care for yourself. And for me, that looks like I'm going to take a bath, or I'm going to lay down, I'm going to do some meditation, I'm going to do some grounding work, I might write something, I might read something. I'm putting my intention and energy into something that's going to be therapeutic for me. I might cook myself a good meal, go for a walk. Like, that is radical self-care, because all of that aggression, all the things that, because it's kind of like a reaction that you're looking for when you give people your hurt. You want them to console you, right? You don't want them to throw your hurt back at you and be like, nah, I'm not dealing with that, or no, I'm not taking accountability for that, because the hurt doesn't go anywhere. So now you're left carrying your hurt, and the next step is easily to then inflict hurt upon yourself. No, we're not doing it. We're not doing it. So I go for therapeutic activities that are going to bring me, center me in my body. But I don't run from the feelings that I'm having. I don't run from the pain. I don't run from the hurt. I just don't make myself feel like I am responsible for the pain and the hurt, as in the fact that I caused it. I'm fully aware of that this pain and this hurt is a direct reaction to this person's inability to validate me. Therefore, it's no need for me to sabotage myself. I just need to console myself and accept the feeling. And I feel like that sort of separation is beneficial in all circumstances. And it kind of speaks to a somatic exercise that I do, where I sit in meditation and I'm able to pretty much grab hold of whatever tough emotion I'm having, and I'm making myself one with that tough emotion. Like, I am not allowing the emotion to necessarily overcome me and take control of me, but I'm more so meshing myself with the emotion, and I'm seeing it as something that I can do so with, not something that is so much stronger than I am. The last thing that I do is I set boundaries with myself, not with those people. I think there's a complete difference between setting boundaries with yourself and then setting boundaries with somebody else. To me, setting boundaries with somebody else is sitting down and having a conversation and saying, these are my boundaries with you. And I feel like if the motherfucker, I just had to say it, I did my best not cursing this whole thing. I just had to get it out. I feel like if the motherfucker is unable to actualize your emotions and willing to change your behavior, are they going to be acceptant of your boundaries? Is it even worth then coming to them and saying, hey, these are my boundaries when it comes to you? No. You need to sit down with yourself and you need to say, okay, what are my boundaries with this person? What boundaries am I putting in place for me with this person? What does that look like? And go from there. So that's what I do. Those are my self-care practices when it comes to when their behavior doesn't change. And I want to say this wholeheartedly, that you are always deserving of people who can take care of your emotional needs. I think that that is probably more important than anything else. Anything else. And I feel like you should go into every relationship with that expectation that people are required to take care of your emotional needs. And you can take that however you want to take it. If you want to interpret it as not being responsible for emotional needs, go right ahead. But if you know what I mean, then you know what I mean. So yeah, I hope this is helpful in some kind of way. I would love to hear, any of your self-care practices when it comes to people who do not want to change their behavior, or any situations that you have been in with people who didn't want to change their behavior. You can comment in the comment box, let me know.